There are moments in life that change everything, moments that cleave time into a before and an after. For one man, that moment came not with a bang, but with a whisper of truth he had long refused to hear. His life was ordinary, predictable. He woke up at the same time every day, drank his coffee black, and went to a job that paid the bills but starved his soul. He believed he had it all figured out. He was confident, maybe even a little arrogant, in the path he had chosen. He saw his life as a well-oiled machine, and he was the master engineer, in complete control of every gear and lever. This illusion of control was his fortress, protecting him from the messy, unpredictable nature of human emotion. He saw vulnerability as a weakness and kept his heart guarded, believing that logic and reason were the only reliable guides. At the center of his world was a woman he claimed to love, but perhaps never truly understood. She was the sun to his shaded world, vibrant and full of a light he secretly envied but openly criticized. He mistook her passion for drama, her deep emotions for instability. A small lie, a seed of misunderstanding, was planted by an outside voice, a jealous friend, a passing comment taken out of context. It was a simple, poisonous idea that her love wasn't genuine, that her emotional depth was a manipulation. And because it fit his sterile, logical view of the world, he believed it. It was easier to believe she was the problem than to confront the fact that he was incapable of meeting her where she was. This single misunderstanding became the cracked lens through which he viewed their entire relationship. The signs were there, like small cracks appearing on a frozen lake. She started to grow quiet during their dinners, her once bright eyes turning distant. She'd try to talk, to bridge the growing gap between them, but he'd dismiss her feelings as overreactions. "You're being too sensitive," he'd say, a phrase that became a wall between them. He'd find her crying silently in the other room, and instead of offering comfort, he'd feel annoyed, seeing it as proof of her supposed instability. Her friends stopped calling him, their cheerful greetings replaced with polite, cold nods. He saw these signs not as warnings, but as confirmations of his flawed belief. He was so busy proving himself right that he never stopped to consider he might be devastatingly wrong. Each ignored tear, each dismissed plea for connection, was another step toward the edge of a cliff he couldn't even see. His decisions became weapons. Armed with his false beliefs, he started to pull away, creating a chasm of emotional distance. He chose work over date nights, logic over empathy, and silence over conversation. He thought he was protecting himself, building his fortress higher. When she planned a surprise weekend getaway, a desperate attempt to reconnect, he canceled at the last minute for a work emergency that wasn't real. He criticized her dreams, calling them impractical, slowly chipping away at the very essence of who she was. Every choice he made was a brick in the wall he was building around his heart, a wall that was also caging her in, or so he thought. In reality, every brick he laid was just giving her another reason to find the door. He was systematically dismantling the best part of his life, all under the delusion that he was making the smart choice. And then, one day, she was gone. It wasn't a dramatic exit. There was no shouting, no final, tearful confrontation. He came home to a house that was too quiet, too still. A note was left on the kitchen counter, its words simple, polite, and utterly final. It spoke not of anger, but of exhaustion. She was tired of fighting to be heard, tired of trying to meld a heart that had chosen to be frozen. Her departure was a quiet surrender, not to him, but to the reality that she couldn't change him. The loss was immediate and hollow. The silence in the house was no longer peaceful, it was deafening. The emptiness was a physical presence, a ghost sitting in her favorite chair, a void where her laughter used to be. He had pushed her away so effectively that when she finally left, it felt less like a breakup and more like a foregone conclusion he had authored himself. Weeks turned into a hollow month. He expected to feel relief, a sense of freedom. Instead, he felt a gnawing emptiness. One evening, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, he stumbled upon an old email from a mutual friend. It was from months ago, an email he had barely glanced at and forgotten. He opened it, and the world tilted on its axis. The email was a heartfelt plea from the friend, explaining the context of the comment that had started it all. It was a misunderstanding, a joke twisted and retold. The friend apologized profusely for the part they played in the confusion and spoke of how much she truly loved him, how she defended him fiercely to others, how her emotional drama was just a deep well of love she didn't know how to express to someone who wouldn't receive it. Attached were screenshots of her messages to that friend, messages filled with worry for him, with unwavering love, with plans for their future. The truth was there, in black and white. It had been there all along. And in that moment, the fortress he had built around his heart didn't just crack, it crumbled into dust. He was standing in the ruins of his own life, illuminated by the stark, painful light of the truth. It was too late. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. All those moments he had dismissed, all those tears he had ignored, all those pleas he had silenced, they all came rushing back, reframed by the truth. He had been the villain in his own love story. The quiet moments she had craved weren't weakness, they were invitations. Her tears weren't manipulation, they were a language he refused to learn. He had let her go. No, he had driven her away. He could call her, but what could he say? I'm sorry I broke you because I was broken. The damage was done. The chance was gone. There was no going back. The future he could have had with her flashed before his eyes. A future of warmth, laughter, and genuine connection. A future he had single-handedly destroyed. The dam of his carefully constructed composure broke. A sob tore from his throat, a raw, guttural sound he hadn't made since he was a child. He fell to his knees, the phone clattering to the floor. The pain was immense, a tidal wave of regret, guilt, and soul-crushing sorrow. He wasn't just mourning the loss of her. He was mourning the man he could have been if he had just listened. He was grieving the love he had thrown away because of his own pride and fear. Every choice, every word, every cold shoulder played back in his mind, each one a separate stab of self-blame. He had been so sure of his own judgment, so confident in his cold logic, and it had led him to this. Alone in an empty house haunted by the ghost of a love he didn't deserve and could never get back. He had won the argument, but he had lost everything that mattered. From the ashes of his breakdown, a painful lesson emerged. Life isn't a spreadsheet. Love isn't a logical equation. It's messy, it's emotional, and it requires something he had always lacked: vulnerability. The most profound truths aren't found in facts and figures, but in the quiet spaces between words, in the willingness to listen without judgment, and in the patience to understand a heart different from your own. His arrogance had been a shield, but it had also been a blindfold. He learned, in the most brutal way possible, that control is an illusion, and that the strongest people are not those who avoid feeling, but those who have the courage to embrace it. This story is a heartbreaking reminder for all of us. Don't let pride build walls that love can't climb. Don't let fear of being hurt cause you to hurt others. Listen. Listen to the words being said and, more importantly, to the feelings behind them. Value the people who have the courage to love you, especially when you feel you don't deserve it. Seek the truth, not the version that's easiest to believe. Do it now, today, because sometimes later becomes never, and the truth arrives when there's nothing left to do but regret. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Cherish the people in your life. We'll see you in the next video.